I am about to shock you, Rob Parker, and many other people. Because while I disagree with much of what Antonio Brown has done recently, I don't care what your relationship with Ben Roethlisberger was, you got to be there for your team in Week 17. He's done some things off the field that I certainly disagree with. You can't throw furniture off a 15th story of an apartment building. Thankfully, he missed children that were down below.
I think he was aiming for the U-Haul truck and just
My goodness. All right, and David Irving, I'm bringing him up too. The defensive lineman for the Dallas Cowboys who announced on Instagram that he is done with football while he was smoking weed, which is why he's done with football.
I think, you know what? I was on his Instagram, and I think I got a contact high.
Anyway, all right, those two players, I disagree with a lot of what they're doing. However, Rob Parker, and I'm saying this to our listeners too, they are actually setting an example that could be good for NFL players. And here it is. We've all talked for a long time about how NFL players deserve guaranteed contracts. I get that there's 53 men in every roster. There's more players in the NFL than in baseball and basketball and hockey and all that. But if any athlete deserves guaranteed money, I think it's NFL players. At least to some degree. Certainly more than they get right now. And Antonio Brown and David Irving are showing a willingness to forego money for what they believe in. Now, we can disagree with what they actually believe in these points, but they are showing Antonio Brown would not go to Buffalo. He would have been traded to Buffalo already, according to reports, if he were willing to go there.
But he doesn't like wings, so going to Buffalo doesn't make sense.
Gosh, will you stop it with the corny jokes? My good, I made it worse. I should have just shut up and let you keep interrupting.
Exactly. There you go. Nightmare. All right, go ahead.
Antonio Brown, the only thing he could have said to Buffalo is, I won't play there. I don't have guaranteed money. I want guaranteed money. And if you don't give me the biggest contract for a wide receiver in the NFL, because that's what reports are saying he wants, then I will not play for you. David Irving is so in love with marijuana. He's so addicted to the weed that he is willing to give up a football career that he's worked most of his life to get. What I'm saying, Rob, is that type of mentality is what NFL players need to get the guaranteed contracts that they want. When the next collective bargaining agreement comes up, if NFL players are willing to say, we will walk away, we will stand on our principles, better principles right now than what David Irving is standing on. We want our just due. We are the ones that make this league go round. We are the ones that people pay millions of dollars annually, billions actually, to see play. Without us, the NFL is not this billion-dollar business, multi-billion-dollar business that it is. So if we don't get guaranteed contracts like Antonio Brown, like David Irving, we will not play. If players take that attitude, Rob Parker, they can get a better collective bargaining agreement. And that is where Antonio Brown and David Irving are actually, believe it or not, setting a good example. Your thoughts?
I've always said that. I totally agree that you got to fight for what you want. The owners will never just show up and say, oh, here you go. What? We'll pay you what you do. We'll look out for your health care. We'll do right by you. It's never been the way. It's not going to happen. The reason that the baseball players Chris, have this great CBA and lifetime health care. You know how they got it? Strikes, walkouts. They did all of it. That's the only way it happens. And they could shut the NFL down. All you need to do is threaten to miss a Super Bowl and really hurt the owners. And remember, when you get paid during the regular season, Chris. When don't you get paid? You don't get paid in the playoffs. There's a pool of money that, you know what I mean, depending on where you make it in the playoffs, that's where you get money.
Right.
So that's when you got to hurt the owners. They don't pay salaries in the playoffs. That's why
Can you imagine that?
That's why
right
1994, no World Series. You shut down a Super Bowl. You want to see the owners come to the table? In 2 seconds, they'll be at the table.
I'm with you. You might not even miss a game.
You might not. That's what I'm telling you.
Here's what I'm saying. David Irving, he's young. He's 25 years old.
Even though I'm totally think he's nuts.
I agree too. I think he's nuts. He's crazy.
And can I say this?
But he do what he wants to do. Look.
But this isn't new because Ricky Williams did it.
Right.
Ricky Williams did this.
If he's counted up the cost and marijuana is that important to his life, then go ahead, do what you want. But if you want to play in the NFL right now, abide by the rules. But what I'd like to see, if David Irving is willing to give up his career for some freaking weed, how about NFL players taking this type of stand for guaranteed contracts
and health care
and future players and health care and for Colin Kaepernick?
Yep.
Don't tell me you support the brother. You stop playing football to smoke marijuana.
Unbelievable.
But you won't stop to support Colin Kaepernick?
Who's looking out for everybody in this country when you talk about unarmed people being killed and shot.
If more NFL players did what David Irving did for Kaepernick, he'd be in the league right now. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And so that's what I'm saying. I don't agree with David Irving.
And like I said, we saw this already. Ricky Williams quit football to go to Tibet and smoke weed every day. And you know what? He got his behind back in the NFL when he realized he needed money.
That's what David Irving doesn't understand. Dude, you have to have money to survive in this world.
I don't care what you write. Absolutely.
And he's 25 years old. He's not a starter. He hasn't made a ton of money. He hadn't made enough money to live off.
Can you imagine his parents or friends or whatever who go, really? Like, Chris, you might even be the biggest weed smoker ever. But to expose yourself and smoke a blunt on Instagram and tell the world you're going to quit your career because you want to smoke. I find that guy, I'm telling you, would not be on my football team.
Well, he's not going to be on any football team. He was suspended.
Right, but I'm just saying I would question a guy like that. I
feel you. And look, I do think the NFL, we can't have in America where half the country is legal to smoke marijuana, recreational or medicinal, but then, in other places it's not. So there's a lot to be figured out.
Yeah, but there's a lot of rules, and that's why states have laws that are separate from the government. I mean, this is not new. I mean, there's a lot of laws that...
You're saying even if it's legal in all 50 states, the NFL still could have that rule.
That could be their work rule, that you can't test positive because of the job that you do. And if you do... Chris, when you started at the New York Times, did you take a drug test? Or were they done by that time?
Honestly, I don't even remember.
I took a drug test when I got hired at the New York Daily News in 1986. And they told me in the interview, if you fail the drug test, this job will be withdrawn. Plain and simple. You're working for a newspaper. We need you of sound mind and body, and we can't have you high. That's what they told me. And I went and took the drug test, and I didn't think anything of it because I didn't smoke weed. I didn't do drugs. So I didn't fret. Other people lost jobs, you know what I mean, or opportunities to get jobs.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I mean, I don't use drugs and all that too. But the country has changed. Obviously, marijuana is legal in some places. And I just think the NFL is going to have to deal with that. But here's the deal. That's another thing that could be collectively bargained.
If they're willing to fight for it. Well, but if they were willing.
I would hate to see players being willing to stand up for their right to smoke weed more than to get guaranteed contracts, to
and
get
healthcare,
healthcare,
right?
and to get Colin Kaepernick in the league.
It's lunacy. It really is.
So that's all I'm saying. I don't agree with Antonio Brown and what he's done. I don't agree with David Irving, but I do like the attitude. And if you can take that attitude and move it in a positive direction, we're willing to make this sacrifice for what we believe in. And you believe in the right things, healthcare, guaranteed contracts, Kaepernick, then I'm cool with it. Let's see what the callers think. 877-99 on Fox, 877-996-6369.
All right, let's jump into this with Marty in Kentucky. You're on The Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio. What you got, Marty?
Hey, I'll just touch the David Irving deal real quick. I see nothing wrong with that, fellas. If that man wants to smoke weed and doesn't want to play football, it's his life.
No, we all agree with that. I just think that it's dumb to be able to earn that kind of living. And you know what? One day you'll be 32 and can't play football. You can smoke all the weed you want.
Yeah,
I understand that.
That's
but,
all I'm
you got to
saying.
decide for yourself what makes you happy.
No, I guess so. Because Ricky Williams did it and thought he was going to be happy and couldn't wait to get back to the league because he wanted to make money.
that's the thing.
That's
You're
right.
right. You're
That's
right.
right.
We don't disagree with you. He
We
can
don't.
go if you're happy.
Yep.
Living in, maybe you don't have the greatest living conditions or whatever, or you go get another job and you make 50 grand, 75 grand a year.
Yep.
Might be taxing labor, but you can smoke weed. Go ahead and do it.
Irvin there, he could have been watching his money good, and he might be set and have all he wants and have some money in the bank and just wants to chill and get high, But I want to talk about Antonio Brown.
Yes.
Now, this guy, I don't see how there's any scenario where he's setting a good example in any way for anybody. This is a guy that walked out on his team in Week 17 with a game that had playoff implications. That's not a teammate. That's not a leader. That's not a good example in any way.
No, I stated that. But what I said is that he apparently didn't want to go to Buffalo and told them, look, I'm not playing for you. I'm willing to sit out. He said it in his interview with ESPN. That's going
correct.
to play on my terms. So, and that's all I'm saying. I agree with you. You got to show. I don't care if him and Ben had a freaking fight. You have to be there in Week 17 for your teammates.
Anthony in Long Beach, you're on The Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio. Anthony, what you got?
Hey guys, how's it going? Really quick, I love both of you guys on Undisputed.
Thank you,
bud.
Thank you.
I think you guys crack me up. Anyway,
Thank you.
kind of piggyback off of what the last caller said with AB. For me, I played sports growing up, played college level. Being teammates is brotherhood, especially in football. Physical sport, contact sport, and everything like that. Play for the guy next to you. Don't play for yourself. He's setting an example for all these new kids coming into the league saying, hey, if I don't get it my way, it's literally my way or the highway. And on top of that, I want you to put me on a team where I can still be great, unlike Buffalo.
But Anthony, the only difference is he's not setting example for any receiver coming in. He's had 6 of the best wide receiver years we've ever seen in the NFL. So that's not a young guy coming in thinking that he could demand the same exact things. I just don't think that's realistic.
He's also made $70 million over the course of his career.
It's
so
totally different.
He does have the ability to stand up and forego another deal with a team he doesn't want to be with. FS1 NFL analyst, our good friend TJ Houshmandzadeh. What's up, brother? How you doing?
What's up, TJ?
Man, I'm doing well. How you guys doing?
All
we great.
good.
TJ, Antonio Brown, the reports are that he basically was like, look, I'm not going to Buffalo. What do you make of this whole story with the Knicks to trade to the Bills?
That leads me to believe he has a destination in mind. I'm sure his agent has talked to some teams, whether it's collusion or illegal or whatnot, and he wants to get to that destination. They probably have worked out parameters of a contract renegotiation or extension, and what next is just to figure out the compensation to give to the Steelers. But he didn't go to the Bills. One, you go to the Bills, statistically, Antonio Brown, you're going to struggle, buddy, with Josh Allen, your quarterback, because he's second-year QB. And so he what did he say? They're gonna play by my rules, and right now that's what it looks like they're doing. They're playing by his rules. He's gonna go where he wants to go.
Do you admire him for just taking a stance and just saying, "Hey, I don't care. I'll quit football, but I'm just going to be on my terms." He claims he's made enough money, he's good, and he's not going to play. Do you admire that?
No, I wouldn't say I admire that. No. Do I admire it? Absolutely not. I don't. He can. You can feel those things, but I don't think it's right to say those things, and you don't realize it until you get towards the end of your career and you're done playing. Like, dude, playing it's a privilege. It really is. It's a privilege to play in the NFL, and you don't want to give the NFL and these general managers and these coaches a reason that when you're towards the end of your career, say, "Oh man, this guy's been a bad teammate. He's been a bad guy. We don't want him around anymore." You want to be. You want to be that guy that you get to your 14th, 15th year. Now you mentor these younger guys coming up, but a team's not going to want him on a team because of the uncertainty of how he's going to act and how he would handle things. You can feel that, but I don't believe you should verbalize it and say it, especially through social media.
It's the Odd Couple. We're joined by former Pro Bowl wide receiver, current FS1 NFL analyst, TJ Houshmandzadeh. TJ, I've said, and Larry Fitzgerald talked about how Antonio really has it good playing with a Pro Bowl, future Hall of Fame quarterback, Ben Roethlisberger. And I get the tension. I get that he feels disrespected by Ben. But I have said, if you feel disrespected by him, why not just go sit down with him man to man? Doesn't have to turn to a fight or anything
Chris,
like that.
are you sure that hasn't happened?
Well, let me finish. Sit down with him man to man and talk it out. And if you can't he can't respect you when you come to him and say, "Look, you have to start treating me differently," or whatever, then you move on. But I would have liked to at least seen Antonio go to Ben and try, talk to him man to man. Is that just something that couldn't have happened, or do you agree that he maybe should have taken that step?
Well, now, this is what I will say. I'm guessing they probably have had this conversation before, privately. And whatever Antonio is doing that Ben doesn't like and vice versa, I'm sure they probably had this discussion, and it was probably agreed to, okay, yes, if I have a problem with you, I'll come to you privately. And then I go back. I said it when it happened. When that happened in the Denver game, when he threw the interception in the red zone, and he said AB should have gone flatter. Yeah, he should have gone flatter. It's still going to be an interception. That was just a bad read, a bad throw by Ben. It is what it is. You come out and criticize me after you calm down. It wasn't right after the game. It was in your radio interview during the week. Criticize me publicly. You could have said something to me on the sideline. You could have said something to me.
Absolutely.
You could have said something to me on the airplane. And so now that you're going to criticize me publicly, there's no going back. And then the general manager comes out and says what he says. It's like, wow, okay, everything I thought has already been confirmed. This is just icing on the cake.
Right. He was proven right by all that stuff. And here's the other thing. I want to ask you about David Irving, the Cowboys lineman who says he wants to quit. He's quitting football to smoke weed. What do you think about that? And is it weird that he would go on Instagram smoking a blunt to show people, I guess, or tell people he's serious about it?
Man, let me just say this. Me personally, I've never smoked anything a day in my life. Cigarettes, weed, I've never done a drug a day in my life. So I never will understand that logic and that type of thinking because I've never done it. I don't even know what it feels. I don't even know how to smoke. And so I'm just baffled, man. That when I read that and I saw that, stuff like that, it baffles me. But if he feels so strongly that he wants to continue to smoke and you can no longer, look, you can argue and say, oh, the prescription medicine they give you is worse than marijuana. You can argue that. But if you want to be in the NFL and that's a rule, you have to abide by it. It's as simple as that. And if you don't, you do what David Irving did and said, you know what, I'm going to retire. I don't agree with it. I would never do it. When I see guys get in trouble for marijuana, that baffles me as well. Very odd and shocking to me, but, hey, hopefully everything works out for him the rest of his life.
And we saw that when Ricky Williams quit football to smoke weed in Tibet. He came back to the league.
He needed some money,
right?
No,
and see what makes it worse is the push for medical marijuana, and it's legal in certain states and everybody, and You got medical experts saying it's not bad for you. And I think eventually, in some years, and possibly in the next CBA, that things will change. But until then, you have to abide and follow the guidelines and the rules if you want to play in the NFL. And so, to me, it's a no-brainer. You get to play a kid's game for a king's ransom. For me, it's a no-brainer. Just do what you got to do, earn a living to support your family, and you get to play a game that you played for free your entire life and get paid for it. I don't get it.
TJ, last question. I want to go back to Antonio Brown. You talked about how if he had gone to Buffalo, it wouldn't have been a good situation because of the quarterback there. There's a lot of talk about Oakland. How would you think it would work out if he ends up with the Raiders with him and Derek Carr and obviously John Gruden as the coach?
I think he'll be successful. I believe he'll be successful. Now, successful to the level that he's had with the Steelers? No. I could be wrong here, and hopefully you guys will look this up when we hang up. But I believe Derek Carr was one of the top quarterbacks in getting the ball out of his hands quickly. Him, Andrew Luck, Derek Carr gets rid of that ball. He's either going to get rid of it on time, he's going to check it down to the back. Now, you look at Antonio Brown with Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers. How many broken plays does he get, and how many extra yards does he get per year just with Roethlisberger not throwing the ball on time, scrambling a little bit? Those plays, like, you don't account for those plays. They're routine for Pittsburgh. You go to another team, you don't have that cohesiveness. You don't have that type of timing, that feel for one another. It's going to be different for him. Regardless, Antonio Brown was on his way to be a first-ballot Hall of Fame, one of the top receivers to ever play. And he better be careful where he goes because he can jeopardize that.
TJ, great stuff, man.